Hello everyone, Clifford Bennett, Chief Economist, ACY Securities. Some interesting developments, and you won't have heard this from me for quite a while, but the US midterm elections. Polls have closed, votes are in, the counting is on. Now it's far too early to say anything, but there's some hints there in the early polling, the exit polling, and initial polls, but it's, again, I emphasize very early, but the exit polls are showing a definite focus on the state of the economy and on inflation. That is starting to show up in votes moving towards the Republicans. If the Republicans end up having a very strong day today, they're very likely to win the Congress, and I think they could well win the Senate as well. But we may not know who's won the Senate for perhaps a week. But if we can see strong voter turnout in favor of the Republican Party, strong votes in favor of the Republican Party, what I'm building to here is that we may actually see the start of a new bull market for US stocks. Now, as you know, I'm one of the world's biggest bears on the US stock market, and I'm very proud to be so. Because the US economy has been in disarray, the United States economy has all sorts of dysfunctional issues, and as we know, manufacturing and services are really in decline there at the moment, and retail sales are almost flatlining really, and the economy's grown 0.4% in all of this year so far in the first 3 quarters. Now, I have felt till now that the US is headed possibly risking a depression in 2023, which is why I have stocks being 20% lower than their current level next year for an overall decline in the US stock market of around 35 to 40% from the first week of January this year. That's been my central theme for a very long time. Remember at the start of the year, I said we'd see a 6 to 18 month correction of around 20% for the US market to 20 to 30%, with risk of a 3 to 6 year correction that could go significantly lower, perhaps 40 to 60%. Now, the second scenario has begun to dominate until today in my mind, because I feel that a strong Republican turnout today will probably, in fact, it is my forecast, it's been my forecast for a couple of months now, that Trump will win the next presidential election in the United States. It's not a personal view. I'm not saying who I want to win. I'm saying who I expect to win. And it's almost a given, actually. You know, if you bet on these things, I'd be certainly looking at that for an opportunity there. And for many people, this is an unfortunate event. For other people, it's a positive event. But what it could mean, and this is why I'm thinking it could be a new bull market for stocks, if the voting is very strongly Republican in the US today, is that a different president with a different approach to the situation with Russia and Ukraine would see probably much tougher, more aggressive talk against Russia, but at the same time, a pressure on Zelensky's government to come to the peace negotiating table in a very much more encouraged way. I use the word twice, but there you go. You know what I mean. We seem to be in a kind of less definite, ongoing stalemate tragedy at the moment. Perhaps a change of president could trigger something. So whilst on the day, stocks are treating a Republican win in the Congress and possibly the Senate as being bullish stocks, it doesn't solve any of the United States economic or any of the global inflation war risk problems. However, if people begin to extrapolate, as I have done, I hope I'm one of the first to do this for you, as I have done, that this could end up being a Trump winning at the next presidential election, and in that case, the Republicans would hold the White House, the Senate, and the lower house, then obviously that's a carte blanche for Republican policy. Things could, and if it was Democrats, the same thing, things could actually really change in the United States. For the moment, we're going to have 2 years of paralysis, which is in some people's minds a good thing and others not. But if we got that clean sweep for the Republicans, perhaps, and I'm not saying this because I favor that party, but just based on the pronouncements and the rhetoric and the statements of what both parties are looking to do at both the leadership and the broader Congress levels moving forward with the US economy and with the situation in Ukraine, it could be, there is a scenario there where a Trump Republican-led US government could fast track relatively to Biden, but who do we know? We don't know really. Either party could come up with the ultimate fast solution for some of these issues, but I would tend to think potentially Trump's track record with North Korea and Russia previously could be signs that we would get a lasting peace established in Ukraine, which is what we all want for the Ukrainian people. And that would be great for food and energy, global food and energy supply. Absolutely fantastic news. That may be fast-tracked with a Trump presidential win. Now, there may be other downsides to a Trump presidential win, but just on the economics and the geopolitics, that is a potential scenario as I have just mapped out there. This is why a big win by the Republicans today could be extrapolated by other people as well as myself, become a flavor of the month market sentiment that becomes a flavor of the year or 2 years or 6 years market sentiment that sees people begin to recognize, okay, we've had a big sell-off. Most people didn't see it coming. We did. But now there is real hope of some resolution at the fundamental level of some of the problems confronting the US economy at the moment. For instance, a Republican Party would probably be more pro-fossil fuels, which you can argue is bad for the climate, but it is certainly good in terms of near-term energy prices. So therefore, it's deflationary. Might be bad for the climate, but it's deflationary, which could be good for the US economy and the global economy over the near to medium term. All of these factors could begin to weigh on people's minds, particularly if the swing to the Republicans is stronger than what people had previously anticipated. Lots of food for thought, I hope. I hope this helps you in some way. Be aware the next few days of trading could well determine the next 2 to 6 year outlook for the US stock market. That's how crucial all of this is. If we saw a strong Republican win, but the market only went up for 3 days and began to collapse back below the levels it's currently at, that would be a horrific price signal that we are going to see my still central scenario that US stocks are going to fall a further 20%. I'm just letting you know, as the world's biggest bear, that I'm considering here a scenario where stocks could begin to climb for the next 2 to 6 years. So very tricky over these 3 days. If we see stocks rally on a strong Republican win and then hesitate, then keep going, that will be a very nice look for a possible long-term bull market again starting. Let's keep our eyes on things, on the polling results now. I hope they have become magically more important to you. Certainly well worth watching. Thank you very much. Clifford Bennett, Chief Economist, ACY Securities.